When it comes to assessing whether or not an organization is optimally structured, we take a look at four critical issues. The first is the skill sets of the organization. The second is it structured properly for the future, or is it rooted in the past? The third is spending on outside agencies. And the fourth is, are the right metrics in place? Let me take a quick look at each of these four. The first, as I mentioned, skill sets. The skill sets required in your own organization today are very, very different than what they were just a few years ago. Digital, social media has changed everything, and we're big believers that the skills associated with digital and social media need to reside within your organization. They cannot be outsourced. So, for example, your own people need to understand how to write content that's optimized for search. Your own people know how to engage. Your own people need to drive listening and monitoring programs. You may outsource certain tactical executional parts of this, but your own people need to have this. So when you take a look at your own organization, if these skill sets don't exist, you need to introduce them into the organization. So that's number one. Number two, I mentioned, is the organizational structure itself. Many organizations are really rooted in the past, but given the change that we're talking about, there needs to be a really tight look at, are we optimized to kind of work laterally across the enterprise, cross-functionally, and so forth? And given the new skill sets that we talked about, do we have the right structure in place to leverage those skill sets across all of the lines of business? Organizational structures are changing. We're doing an awful lot of work in terms of best practice assessment, so clients of ours can kind of see some of the best and worst around the world. That's number two. Number three, how do you use your outside resources, specifically agencies? One trend that we see is that too many companies spend too much money with too many agencies and don't leverage that scale to get better thinking and better pricing. So while we're not advocates of consolidating the work to, say, one or two agencies, we are big believers that you really need to take a look at the total spend and the total breadth and depth of your relationships out there, and just make sure that they're really rationalized and you're doing it smart. There are opportunities to kind of leverage that scale frequently to get greater intellectual capital from your partners, as well as, frankly, to get better pricing. So that's number three. Fourth and final critical issue we talk with clients a lot is metrics. Many companies want to understand what are the best class, world-class metrics to put in place. It's not just about measuring impact, it's also about measuring accountability within the organization. One key trend that we're big proponents of is to make sure that you engage your own leadership in what these metrics should be. Too many dashboards, too many tracking systems are viewed as self-serving exercises to justify someone's or some organization's existence. But when the leadership of a company gets involved in helping to define what those metrics should be, what's important to the leadership of the company, the impact on the communications and marketing organization is dramatic, and the organization's stature and credibility throughout the organization dramatically increases.